right, welcome to Lesson 8 of Doodling with Purpose, your step-by-step, week-by-week guide to learning hieroglyph, or at least Egyptian hieroglyph. There's also Aztec hieroglyphs and, other cultures, but we're doing Egypt. And we are almost done with the single consonant glyphs, which is pretty cool, which means you can kind of spell out words now, and maybe even you'll be able to spell your name if it doesn't have a W in it. We haven't gotten to W yet. But pretty soon we're going to move on to the double and triple consonant sounds, which is not something we really have in English. The idea of one letter or one image having more than one sound, like the scarab beetle there being hooper. But we'll get to that. That's not something we have in English, but want to kind of prep you for that because we're going to be approaching it pretty soon. And as you recall from last week, we also talked about the fact that Egyptian glyphs really were the precursor to the Greek/English alphabet. You can kind of see from this chart the way the letters really did evolve into modern letters, and it started with Egyptian. So again, like we talked about last week, that crest of the owl there, the line that makes his head and his eyebrows, well, if you look at that, you really are seeing the letter M there. And that's where we get the letter M from. It comes from the Egyptian owl, which is pronounced like the letter M. So, there's definitely a lot more than just learning to draw and write hieroglyphs that you'll get from this process. You're really going to have a better understanding of our own alphabet and our own language. And eventually, yes, you'll be reading as well, up and down, left to right to left, but not backwards in time, as we've established. All right, so with that, let's start our review of the glyphs that we learned last week. All right, so we first have our mouth, our R sound, which is just a line up and a line down. Then we have our door bolt, 2 circles and 2 lines. And then our folded cloth, line, and connect. Remember not to candy cane it. All right, are we having fun yet? I hope we're having fun yet. Because if you're not having fun, you really shouldn't be doing this. Because, this is meant to be something in your spare time. Hey, maybe you're doing this while you're locked away in your house because it's March 2020 right now when I'm recording this. And a lot of us are stuck inside and you're looking for something to do. So, hey, why not bring a little fun and a little humor to your life with learning Egyptian hieroglyphs? I'm trying here. I really am. Okay, with that, I think it's time to move on to our new glyphs for this week. All right, as per usual, we have 3 new glyphs per week, and we're doing that very deliberately, taking this slow and working on 3 per week. So the first is going to be the sh sound, the SH. Now, we don't have an SH in English, but they do have an SH in the Egyptian alphabet, and the shape that we're going to be drawing is a pool. Sometimes it's drawn complicated like this with lots of little wavy lines to represent the water. Other times you're just going to see it as a rectangle, which makes it relatively easy to draw because pretty much you're drawing a rectangle just like you did in kindergarten. So again, this is the sh sound, the SH, which, if you're familiar with other languages like Hebrew or Arabic, you're familiar that SH is a letter in those alphabets. All right, so a rectangle. Ready? There we go. And then we're going to do 2 diagonals in the middle. So down, back, up. Got to connect that there. And 2 diagonals to represent the water. That's like the simplified version. Down, back, up, and 2 diagonals. And that is your pool. All right, next up we have our T, our T sound, our hard T, like turtle, if you will, which it kind of does look like a turtle, doesn't it? It's not a turtle, though. It's also one of those shapes that's a relatively easy one to draw, and you're going to see this one a lot. It comes up a lot. It's a hill is what you're actually drawing, not that hill, more like this hill. Obviously, with the desert, people were very familiar with the concept of hills in ancient Egypt, so that is what we are drawing today. And much like the pool, this one is pretty simple. It's a flat line and then a circle from the right. A flat line and a half circle from the right. Once more, flat line, half circle from the right. And that is your hill, your T sound. Next up, we are going to get to a glyph. Some people say it is a rope, Well, I mean, it is a rope, but it's not just a rope. And I say that because we're actually going to have other ropes later on, specifically things like lassos and other shapes that ropes take. This rope is actually a tether, and we know that from the archaeological record of how Egyptians tethered animals, tying it around a tree and then a leg. So that's what you're seeing here, is you're seeing an ancient Egyptian tether, which is a th sound. Sometimes it's written as a ch, but it's more of a th sound. So two circles and connect them. Pretty simple. Two circles, connect. Two circles, and then connect them. And that is your th sound. And that is our three glyphs for this week. So we've got our pool, we've got our tether, and our hill. Well, hill before the tether. I did those backwards, but we're still learning them all. And we're going to practice those all week. Because again, if you're not practicing last week's and you're not practicing this week's, it's easy to let them go. And hey, maybe eventually you'll be able to convince your significant other to start decorating your house with hieroglyphs and turn your house into a workable, readable, I don't want to say tomb, but at least a wall stela that you can practice all of your hieroglyph reading on. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, I still have not convinced my wife about this one. But at least now we kind of know the difference between what is a hieroglyph and what is just an Egyptian doodle. So, they did not draw mummies. They did not draw complicated masks, but you'll start to recognize now when you see Egyptian hieroglyph what those sounds are and what are actually hieroglyphs and what are just people making Egyptian doodles and trying to sell them. Pretty cool, right? See, now you know how to recognize bootleg t-shirts too. Put those hieroglyph skills to work. All right, guys, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next week.